Hi, I'm Adrian Terry. I live and work in Edgewood. In previous videos, I informed you about the expansion of the town's sewer system, the cost to homeowners for mandatory service connections, and the locations for future service areas. In this video, I would like to tell you why, in spite of the assurances of some, that the threat of financial harm to property owners under the town's sewer ordinance is real and requires your attention, and in the future, maybe even your action. Total costs for the town's sewer system and the construction of additional collection lines for 8 future service areas are projected to cost $13,097,000. That's a lot of money for a small town, and all the expenses of a local government are ultimately paid by John Q. taxpayer, meaning you and me. But at least the cost for the expansion of the sewer system will be shared equally by all taxpayers in the town. Unfortunately, individual property owners who are currently subject to the sewer ordinance, as well as its mandatory connection requirements, are also subject to the direct costs and expenses required to connect their building and structures to the system. A summary of those expenses, including town fees in excess of $4,000, plus construction expenses, which can easily exceed $10,000, are outlined in a prior video, which I would encourage you to watch. And it leads credence to the mayor when he says,
I mean, you have a design area where stuff can be built, but it doesn't mean we're going to go out and go to Tom McGill, put a gun to his head and make him hook up. That's not going to happen. To infer that that's going to happen is just letting your imagination run away with you. You're too far away from where anything is now, and we're not going to go all that way just to make you hook up to it.
If common sense prevailed, the town would abandon and repeal its sewer ordinance, and that would be all there is to it. The plans for the design for the sewer system, performed by Smith Engineering at the direction of the mayor, cost the town approximately $732,000, according to elected officials at a town council meeting in December of 2018. But those costs only purchased a partially completed design, comprised of 50 pages, which made it possible for the town to more accurately calculate the costs, time, and materials to complete the system. An additional 29 pages of engineering work was required to complete the 100% design just for the completion of the Phase 1 collection lines. It's far from a fantasy to conclude that the town will not proceed with the expansion of the sewer system, given the amount of money invested or wasted in this project already. And, in my opinion, any property owner would be ill-advised to ignore the possibility of continued expansion by the town and the mandatory connections under the ordinance at your sole expense. This opinion is informed by a pattern of behavior by the town of downplaying the imminence of the mandatory connection requirements under the sewer ordinance while they continue to expand the system on the ground. Listen to the town clerk at a town hall meeting on July 7th, 2018, telling local residents that expansion of the sewer system is not moving forward.
Thank you. So I guess to answer some of your questions, so the invitation for bid was approved contingent upon a bond sale. That doesn't mean we're moving forward right away. The bonds still haven't sold.
Despite the town's comments that the sewer ordinance is not fit for implementation and that the project is contingent upon future governmental actions or approvals, just 3 days later, on July 10th, the town held a pre-bid construction conference and opened and accepted bids on July 17th for future construction and installation of the collection lines for the sewer system. It appears that certain people in the town have been unwilling to share and publicly disclose information about the sewer system and the town's intent to require mandatory connections to finance the infrastructure that's already being installed in the ground. What about the town's promises that it will not enforce the ordinance on unsuspecting property owners? Those promises were made just this past summer and not in ancient history. However, to date, the town has not adopted any fix or resolution for the problems created by the sewer ordinance, either in writing or in any official form that will stand the test of time.
The way the ordinance was written in 2015, it did specifically call out forced connections for any dwelling that's 150 feet from the sewer line. So A lot of places aren't going to fall within that, but you're correct. There are some that are going to fall within that. The governing body is looking into the ordinance as a whole as to how can it be improved upon, what can we do for these connections. So there's going to be some, there's probably going to be revisions on that before pipes even put in the ground with respect to that ordinance and what it requires. God bless you. So it's not a done deal. People aren't being forced to connect, as of yet, because the pipe's not in the ground, and the ordinance, the governing body is still looking into it.
As you can see, it only took days for the town to break its promises that expansion of the sewer system would not continue or move forward in a manner that would negatively impact town residents. Contrary to the town's representations, in July of 2018, the pipe is, in fact, already in the ground. Property owners within the town limits are already exposed to the mandatory requirements of the sewer ordinance, and the town has done nothing to amend or repeal this law. What about the mayor's promises that he won't enforce mandatory connections by homeowners, despite the requirements of the actual text of the sewer ordinance?
Hook up. A lot of us don't have $17,000.
That's why we're not looking at the forced hookups.
Well, he just said we were.
Is it on the books that you can do a forced hookup, correct?
Yes, there's.
So how, then that is a reality until that is changed. You can talk, just like this gentleman did, that is not your intent, but if it's on the books, it is. Whether you do it or not, it's still a concern because you're moving forward with projects, extending the lines with rules on the book that you could or may not take into place, but they affect these people and they have no say in that regard.
Even with the best intentions, any failure to enforce an existing town ordinance is unlawful. It could be a sign of bad management, or it could be a revelation that the town is actually run by its executives and managers, rather than the duly elected town council. Regardless, this problem will not go away, and it will be an issue for the next mayor and future town councilors. Why kick the can down the road when we can address the problems created by the sewer ordinance before any property owner suffers its financial impacts? Perhaps the town can do something to help those residents who can't afford to connect to the system.
Now keep in mind, I've heard not just here but at other meetings about the forced connections, and it's the poorest of the poor and stuff of that nature. Well, as we move forward with the process, there's different grants, different things available which will allow us to actually make those individual connections, whether it be CDBG federal funding. There's different funding sources that allow us to do different things.
Or maybe not.
Town of Edgewood's not eligible for CDBG funds currently, and it would be a big stretch to infer that we could use CDBG funds for sewer hookup. So I think we need to clarify that right now.
The town needs to do a better job of informing residents about the sewer ordinance and the mandatory connection requirements for property owners located in the 8 service areas shown in existing sewer service maps. This is a call for a public and open discussion of the sewer ordinance that involves town residents in the decision-making process. This is Adrian Terry, brought to you by Citizens for an Open and Responsible Edgewood.